And we are back to talk about something I keep seeing people freak out over, which is House of the Dragons.
Global warming.
Not yet. Soon.
I mean, people should be freaking out about it. Yes, but House of the Dragon.
Season 3 is currently filming right now, and there's some guy who... I don't know what the fuck this guy's doing. He's he's climbing mountains and using drones to capture blurry footage. Or maybe he's on his phone and just zooming in on the filming of Season 3. And we briefly talked about it on your stream last week, but apparently they're changing things up a bit, specifically with Daemon. A lot of this is coming from Daemon. And what's going down is that Daemon will be meeting up with Daemon and Ormond Hightower. And apparently it looked like Ormond Hightower might have been surrendering to Daemon. But specifically, Daemon and Daemon, who are supposed to be enemies. Daemon is Alicent's son. We see him at the very end of Season 2, riding his dragon for the Green Army. But in the leaked scenes, we can see that Daemon and Daemon are just being buddy-buddy and talking it out. So in the source material, Daemon and Daemon have no interaction. They don't. I mean, they might have met when he was like a baby or something, but Daemon is sent to Old Town to be warded, and they're in different parts of the map during the entire war, and both of them die, having just incredibly little to do with each other. So this is I guess they can do what they want, I suppose, but I would argue they've never met, both book and show continuity, because won't they ever have the time? Why would they?
I mean, there might have been a time when they were like a baby or something. I would have to look at the timeline of when Daemon is in and out of King's Landing and when Daemon's born. It would have been when he was very young and not aware. But if the meeting happened, I would have to check. It probably happened, but plus they like to have these like parties and reconciliations when marriages and babies happen. So one could argue that there was a visit where he saw this baby, but they've had no meaningful interaction ever because they were never in the same place.
Right. And of course people are flipping out because this is a departure from the source material. So after what happens in Season 2, the thing that Daemon is supposed to do next is he and Rhaenyra are supposed to meet again, and they're supposed to fly over King's Landing and essentially take it. And he's supposed to watch her ascend the throne. And then afterwards, he stays in King's Landing for a little bit, and he and Nettles get assigned to go to the Riverlands and hunt down Aemon and Vhagar. And then he kind of chills there for a bit until he's supposed to have his final battle. So for the biggest chunk of the story, Daemon is doing nothing.
You are correct that in a battlefield setting, Daemon has in a battle setting, except for his final confrontation with Aemon, we have passed and done everything that Daemon is supposed to do. Like if you're thinking about Daemon's action-packed life, and you say, okay, well, he was in some tourneys, and he was in the Stepstones, and he had a duel. The duel was not put to screen, but nonetheless, he had a duel, and then he took Harrenhal and had these battles, for the burning mill. All of that, like that's all past. Like we are past all action for Daemon Targaryen in the source material, except for God's Eye.
Right.
Like that is the last thing. And conversely, we are at the point in which Rhaenyra actually gets to fucking do something. Okay. Like in the source material, Rhaenyra does nothing in the war until the invasion of King's Landing. And then she's got stuff to do.
Rhaenyra, Alicent actually shows back up after several pages of her not being there. And specifically, she shows back up to bow to Rhaenyra once she takes King's Landing. So Alicent should have been absent for most of Season 2.
Yeah, Alicent should have done nothing. Like in the source material, Rhaenyra does nothing because she's still healing from her stillbirth, and other people do stuff, and Alicent is nowhere to be seen. But then all of a sudden, taking of King's Landing, like Rhaenyra becomes a character for the first time. I mean, in a war sense. And it's funny because the source material is called The Princess and the Queen, and the princess does nothing for a long time.
So that's why people are freaking out, because they're giving Daemon new stuff to do, which, again, and this has been my new mantra for like the last year.
It makes sense to me. I mean, they did the same thing, as I say, it makes sense. There are 3 main characters. And again, this is people get angry at me when I say this is George's fault. It's kind of George's fault. George established that the 3 main characters are the Rogue Prince, the Princess, and the Queen. The 3 main characters are Daemon, Rhaenyra, Alicent. And yet there are sometimes it's years and years and years going by where one character doesn't do anything, or in the case of Princess and the Queen in the War, just dozens, scores of pages where one character doesn't do anything. So it's tough when your 3 main characters are sidelined. So yeah, I understand that. I understand that they have to invent material for Daemon to do, just like last season they invented a whole bunch of shit for Rhaenyra and Alicent to do. All of which we didn't like.
I wouldn't say all of which, because remember, Rhaenyra doesn't have this big ass argument with Daemon like she did in episode 2. In episode 2, their confrontation was amazing. I absolutely loved their confrontation. George did as well.
Yeah, they're kind of... I guess the things I was frustrated... I mean, I didn't like the sept scene between Alicent and Rhaenyra, and I didn't like the final... Yeah, I didn't like the rendezvous, and I didn't like the final meeting between Rhaenyra and Alicent.
It completely fucking destroys Alicent's character, the final one. It's her having her Ophelia moment where she's out in the woods and she's just...
I'm fine. I'm fine with the Ophelia moment. This is when we say that, we mean there was speculation that Alicent was going to like drown herself or in a lake or something strange when the trailer came out, but she didn't. She just went out to the lake to think. But that was a very beautiful scene. I'm fine with that. Whatever. I'm fine with a lot of the conversations that she had. Certain ones I didn't like her getting angry at Aegon and degrading him, and for strangely, like just out of nowhere, because it seemed like a shift in her opinion suddenly. I mean, I guess they needed motivation for Aegon to want to go to Rook's Rest, so they made that it. But it just didn't seem like Alicent was the person to do that. I think Otto might have been the person to do that. They needed something for these characters to do.
Basically, people are flipping out because now Daemon has new stuff to do. And my mantra this past year plus has been, it's good, it's bad, it's bad. Give it a minute, wait until things are out. Yeah. But this is a departure from the books, where he essentially goes to King's Landing, chills for a bit, is given a task by Rhaenyra to take Nettles and go hunt down Vhagar and Aemond. But here instead, he is going off and meeting with the Hightower forces. He is going off and leading the charge against other green forces with Roddy Ruin. Or Roderick Dustin, played by Chibs from Sons of Anarchy, for those of you who watch that show. He is taking a more active approach in the war. He is being an actual general now. So I do wonder what else they're going to give him to do, because I guess it's funny. It's almost as though the writers took the biggest criticism about Daemon, which was him at Harrenhal doing nothing. Like, fine, you want him to do something? Here he is. He's doing more stuff. He's being more proactive. Is that going to be good for the story? We're just going to have to see.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I could also see Daemon's actions potentially filling a small plot hole with regards to army movements. One thing is that the Hightower army takes way too long to cross the Reach and get into the war. It's just like, what are they doing all of this time? It's just like, it's ridiculous. Considering that, say, like, people from Winterfell make it all the way from Winterfell down into these battles, and Old Town, which was told before anybody else that the king is dead and to start preparing for war. Keep in mind that like Otto Hightower sends out those ravens to them first. They should have been, the first into action. Instead, they're the Hightower stuff with regards to first and second Tumbleton happened near the end of the war. So it's maybe they'll explain like some of that slowdown, but on what's going on. But I don't know, or maybe they're just going to try to give something for Daemon to do as well. We probably need some Daemon screen time, because I will also say, if you're talking about Tumbleton and Daemon, if you're just watching this show and then all of a sudden random fucking character that has not existed in seasons 1 and 2 is now in a battle and then, spoiler, dies in that battle, who fucking cares? Who fucking cares? Who fucking cares that this new kid is here doing shit? Like, we have no emotional investment in him. So yeah, I understand it. It's killing two birds with one stone. You're giving more screen time to Daemon because we need to start caring about Daemon, and you need to give one of the leads something to do. You can't just have, Daemon flying around the Riverlands, holding his dick. Like it's for a season. You've gotta by himself, like looking for Aemond, which is what he was doing in the source material. Like, you got to give him something to do. So I understand it abstractly. I understand. And I know people are freaking out. Like, they're changing the source material. Well, sometimes the source material has to be changed.
It does, and it works for the better. I sometimes hate how this fandom has the memory of a goldfish, because a good chunk of what made Game of Thrones' first few seasons amazing were changed scenes. I remember how much you love that Maester Lou and Theon scene. I always talk about like the Tywin Arya stuff, which is massively different, the Robert Cersei stuff. There's a great scene that doesn't get enough love, and I'm pretty sure it's original. Viserys' confrontation with Jorah Mormont, where Viserys has enough of Daenerys being glazed up by the Dothraki, not doing anything, so he goes and tries to steal her dragon eggs, and Jorah stops him. And he even says his house's motto, "Here we stand," when he, tells Viserys to fuck off with the dragon eggs. So, there's some great moments,
and you can say that there's a lot of things, and even specifically with House of the Dragon. If we're specifically saying, do you think that the story is served by making Rhaenyra and Alicent the same age? And I would argue, yes. I think it's served massively by adding a friendship between Alicent and Rhaenyra. That makes the show 1,000,000 times more interesting to have them the same age and to make them childhood friends. And that is an enormous, enormous departure from the source material, where they vary in age by over 10 years. And were never friends and hated each other from the beginning and go to the grave hating each other. Like, there was never any, in the source material, they always hated each other. It was a static relationship. And in the show, they have a dynamic shifting relationship and that was made possible by making them close to the same age. Massive, massive change to the story. Could you imagine something else? Like, imagine you're adapting, I'm trying to think of something that would apply to, forget it. I'll come up with something better. I'm sorry. I was trying to think of something very famous, and I was like, imagine in Star Wars, and I was like, all the characters were kind of the same age, or like whatever. Imagine if Luke and Leia were suddenly the same age. Oh wait, they are. I was trying to come up with something, but and then I went to like Anakin and Obi-Wan, and I was like, oh, they were friends. Oh, even though they were different ages. So, but nonetheless, I think one can argue that the Alicent Rhaenyra friendship has made the material much more interesting, and that is a massive, massive departure from the source material. So just because you're departing from the source material doesn't mean it's worse.
But sometimes when you depart from it, it's like the worst shit ever. Seriously, their meetups were so
their meetups were horrible.
Fucking stupid.
Their meetups were horrible.
Holy shit, their meetups were so bad. And without Nettles.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, Daemon does have less to do, and Rhaena will fill in the role of Nettles, except for where Daemon and Nettles in the source material bathe each other and have this like romantic connection that Rhaenyra gets jealous of. I doubt they're gonna do that, considering Rhaena is Daemon's daughter.
I don't think let's Nettles just isn't showing up. Nettles isn't showing up. We just have to get over it. I think that's a massive mistake. If there's, you're taking the best part of the source material, the most interesting aspect of the source material, which is Nettles, and you're removing it.
What made Nettles, and this is going to be controversial, and I'm not ready to have this conversation yet, but we'll tease it for the future, because I know the moment we try to have this conversation, certain people are going to go, one of the reasons Nettles was so interesting is because she is so different than the typical Targaryen. Typical Targaryen is pale skin, violet eyes, white, blonde hair, and they're crazy. Nettles is quite the opposite of that. So I can see the reason why they decided not to do Nettles is because, well, we changed up the Velaryons. The Velaryons are not typical, don't have the typical Targaryen features. Because the whole thing with Nettles in the books is that she may have some dragon seed blood there, maybe. She may be a dragon seed on the Velaryon side, maybe. But if they show up, if they have Nettles and she shows up, if she says, well, Laenor was my father, yeah. I mean, clearly, I can see that.
I think in the end, the Velaryons being black worked out really well if we look at like episode 8 of season 1. But I do admit that one of the things that it spoils is the specialness of Nettles. Like that kind of it's already blown. Like
I understand what you mean. So I understand. I still think they should have Nettles, but whatever.
No one cares about Rhaena.
No one cares about Rhaena. Poor Rhaena.
No one cares about Rhaena.
She's Baela takes all the. Baela takes most of the.
Baela takes all. I mean, it's just Baela is much. Yeah.
Rhaena's storyline died with Luke.
It's just. Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's like. You got these twin sisters, and like just one sister is just much more interesting, and I don't know what it is, but yeah.